modern minimalist garden and cozy patio retreat, summer 2025 outdoor living trends. I begin by inviting you to picture a garden that breathes, a place where every detail has purpose and no gesture is wasted. In my work, the foundation of modern minimalist outdoor design is not excess, but intention. When I compose such a space, I think of it as an architectural dialogue between nature and structure, where restraint becomes a form of poetry. This vision for summer 2025 embraces the clarity of minimalism while infusing it with warmth, ensuring that the garden and patio are not cold abstractions but lived-in sanctuaries. In designing these environments, clean lines guide the eye with quiet authority. Pathways are drawn like sketches in the landscape, direct, unpretentious, and deeply considered. Space is not cluttered but curated, a careful orchestration where negative space holds as much importance as the elements placed within it. Every plant, every surface, every material is chosen to serve both form and feeling. A minimalist garden does not compete for attention. It whispers, inviting reflection and serenity. Planting, in this language of design, is measured and deliberate. Instead of abundant collections of flowers and ornaments, I use plants as sculptural accents. Native grasses sway like brushstrokes across the ground, their movement offering a rhythm to the stillness of stone and wood. Shrubs with defined shapes, whether rounded, columnar or spreading, become punctuation marks within the composition. The palette is narrow but refined, shades of green layered with subtle shifts of tone, textures that contrast yet harmonize, and foliage that glimmers differently as the changes throughout the day. This is not about quantity but quality, not abundance but balance. Materiality becomes the second voice in this conversation. I favor natural, sustainable elements because they ground the space in honesty. Reclaimed wood carries with it the memory of time, its surface weathered into richness. Stone provides permanence, anchoring the garden with gravitas. Terracotta brings a touch of earth's warmth, and oxidized metal lends depth with its quiet patina. These are not materials that shout, they murmur, blending into the environment while quietly narrating stories of endurance and simplicity. When arranged together, they create a timeless texture that transcends fashion. Color, too, is subdued, chosen not to stimulate but to soothe. The bright chaos of ornamental beds gives way to muted greens, calming taupes and cool greys. These tones weave a subtle fabric of atmosphere, one that allows the senses to settle. In summer light, the palette feels soft and embracing. In evening shadow, it takes on a contemplative quietness. This harmony of hues underscores the central purpose of the minimalist garden, to be a place where the eye rests, where the mind slows, where the body feels unburdened. The patio becomes the natural extension of this vision. It is not a stage for decoration, but the heart of the outdoor experience, a retreat designed for human presence. I conceive of the patio as a sanctuary of comfort, a space where design becomes invisible because it feels so naturally attuned to living. Plush cushions invite rest without ostentation. Linen throws draped across seating hint at cool evenings spent in conversation. Low-profile tables encourage intimacy rather than grandeur. And the lighting, always soft and deliberate, casts a golden glow that transforms even the quietest moment into something memorable. Texture here becomes the tactile expression of comfort. Woven rattan, with its familiar warmth, sits beside brushed concrete, smooth yet strong. A jute rug underfoot softens the ground, grounding a teak bench that whispers of craftsmanship and permanence. Bamboo pergolas filter the sunlight, their delicate shadows dancing across draped cotton fabrics that sway with the breeze. Each layer is modest on its own, but together they create a composition that feels both understated and profound, a lesson in how simplicity can be profoundly rich. Technology, though subtle, plays a role in enhancing this sanctuary. I imagine solar-powered lanterns placed discreetly along gravel paths, offering illumination that feels organic to the setting. Smart irrigation systems whisper their efficiency in the background, ensuring the garden thrives without burden. Canopies respond quietly to weather shifts, opening to the sun and closing to the rain, aligning themselves with nature's rhythms. These elements are not introduced as novelties, but as invisible guardians of comfort, preserving the integrity of the space while adapting to the needs of daily life. Above all, sustainability underpins every decision. To design in 2025 without sustainability is to design without conscience. Rainwater harvesting integrates seamlessly into the landscape. Plantings are native, chosen not only for beauty, but for their ability to thrive with minimal water and care. Furniture and structures are built from responsibly sourced materials, their longevity ensuring that the garden grows more graceful with time. Here, ecology is not an afterthought, it is the framework upon which beauty is built. Underlying this vision is the principle of biophilic design. My goal is always to dissolve the barriers between indoors and outdoors, allowing the garden to feel like an extension of home rather than a separate entity. Folding glass doors blur the boundary between living room and patio. Seamless flooring continues from interior to exterior, ensuring continuity of movement. Shared colour palettes weave together both realms, creating harmony between what is built and what is grown. It is in this continuity that the true power of design reveals itself, inviting people to live fluidly across thresholds. What emerges then is not merely a trend, but a lifestyle expression, a way of living with intention. In a world that moves too fast, where attention is scattered and overstimulated, these gardens and patios provide stillness. They invite us to slow down, to listen, to reconnect. Whether it is a morning ritual of tea as sunlight filters through grasses, or an evening of conversation under string lights, these spaces remind us of what matters: presence, connection, and serenity. As I envision these gardens for summer 2025, I am reminded that design is not about what we add, but about what we choose to leave out. Minimalism in this context is not an absence, but a generosity, an openness that allows nature, people, and architecture to coexist without strain. The result is beauty that feels effortless because it has been shaped with discipline, clarity, and care. This, to me, is the essence of the modern minimalist garden and cozy patio retreat. It is not just a design, it is an invitation to live differently, to dwell more deeply, and to discover the quiet luxury of simplicity. When I continue the journey into this vision, I begin to consider how the garden and patio are not isolated objects, but dynamic environments that evolve with the rhythm of life. A minimalist garden must always be alive, not in the sense of crowded abundance, but in the subtle transformations that occur day to day and season to season. As a designer, I think of time as my collaborator. The textures of stone deepen as they weather, wood develops a silvered grace, and plants shift in tone and density as the months pass. What I design today must feel even more harmonious 5, 10, or 20 years from now. That is the true test of minimalist architecture in the natural world, whether it gains beauty through aging rather than losing it. The placement of pathways plays a crucial role in this living composition. I avoid creating routes that feel merely functional. Instead, I allow them to suggest a narrative. A gravel path might bend gently, revealing views in sequence rather than all at once. A stepping stone walkway may lead to a secluded bench tucked behind grasses, encouraging pause before continuation. These deliberate gestures transform movement into experience. In minimalism, where fewer elements exist, each decision carries greater weight. A single turn in a path, a single framed view can hold more emotional impact than a crowded array of features. Seating, too, is conceived not just as utility, but as invitation. I imagine a low timber bench set against a backdrop of tall, whispering grasses, creating intimacy within openness. The scale of furniture remains modest, never overwhelming the human presence or the surrounding landscape. By lowering the height of seating and tables, I allow the body to rest closer to the earth, reinforcing the sense of connection with the ground beneath and the sky above. This physical closeness amplifies the psychological one, a reminder that we are part of the natural setting, not separate from it. The patio, in my vision, becomes an architectural heart that draws together these principles of movement, materiality, and experience. It is a stage for daily rituals, but a stage that never imposes. The structure is simple, sometimes little more than a level platform of wood or stone. What animates it is the layering of thoughtful choices. A linen throw over a rattan chair, a lantern casting a soft glow against a textured wall, a ceramic vessel of fresh herbs within arm's reach. These gestures are small, but they accumulate into an atmosphere of profound comfort. When people inhabit such a space, they are not distracted by excess. They are held by a sense of completeness. Lighting is another element I treat with extreme care. In minimalist design, light is not decoration, it is structure. During the day, the architecture is positioned to welcome natural sunlight, creating shifting shadows that animate the garden floor. Pergolas filter brightness, while stone walls reflect warmth. As evening descends, artificial light emerges with subtlety. Lanterns glow rather than glare. Embedded floor lights trace the outline of a path, and strings of delicate bulbs hover above like constellations. My aim is always to echo the qualities of natural light so that artificial illumination does not disrupt the serenity, but instead extends it into night. Sound, though intangible, plays its role as well. The minimalist garden should never be silent in the sterile sense. Instead, it amplifies the gentle symphony of its own elements. Gravel crunching softly underfoot, leaves rustling against each other, water dripping into a stone basin. All of these sounds are curated by design. I avoid mechanical intrusions, letting natural acoustics become part of the experience. A small fountain may be added, not for spectacle, but for rhythm, its trickle blending with birdsong and wind. In this way, the garden becomes immersive, appealing not just to the eye, but to the ear, to the skin, to the entire body. I also think carefully about the transitions between indoors and outdoors. The modern minimalist ethos seeks to dissolve divisions, so the threshold between living room and garden must feel seamless. Large folding doors, when opened, erase the boundary altogether. Flooring materials continue uninterrupted, carrying interior textures into the open air. Even furniture styles echo each other. An indoor sofa resonates with the clean lines of an outdoor bench, creating unity of design language. This continuity allows life to flow without interruption, encouraging people to step fluidly between spaces, as if the home itself has expanded into the landscape. Technology, while quiet, contributes to this sense of fluidity. Smart irrigation systems, integrated almost invisibly, ensure plants are nurtured with precision, conserving water while reducing human burden. Weather-responsive canopies extend automatically during sudden rainfall, protecting cushions and textiles without calling attention to themselves. Solar-powered lighting ensures sustainability, drawing energy from the day to illuminate the night. The technology is present, but it is hidden, almost invisible, like a silent collaborator, ensuring that the space remains effortless to inhabit. At the core of these choices is sustainability, not as an optional layer, but as an intrinsic ethic. Every material is chosen with awareness of origin and afterlife. Reclaimed wood celebrates cycles of reuse. Stone, locally sourced, reduces environmental cost while reinforcing regional identity. Native plants demand little irrigation, harmonizing with their climate rather than resisting it. Rainwater harvesting systems are integrated into architectural forms, turning necessity into design. In my philosophy, sustainability is not an external badge. It is the very framework that makes beauty enduring. The psychological effect of such spaces cannot be overstated. We live in a time when overstimulation defines much of our environment. Bright screens, constant notifications, urban noise all conspire to fragment our attention. The modern minimalist garden and patio retreat, by contrast, act as antidote. They remind us of slowness. They cultivate stillness. They invite presence. When you sit beneath a pergola draped with cotton fabric and watch shadows ripple across stone, you are not consuming distraction. You are dwelling, reconnecting, recalibrating. The architecture becomes not just physical space, but a mental one, a form of therapy designed through restraint. This is why in 2025, these gardens are not simply aesthetic projects. They are responses to cultural need. They speak to a longing for authenticity, for clarity, for spaces that heal rather than demand. As I present this vision, I see myself less as a creator of gardens than as a facilitator of atmospheres. I set the stage, but it is nature, light, time, and human presence that complete the performance. The true success of such a design is when it feels inevitable, as if it had always belonged to the site, waiting to be revealed. And so, as I refine this philosophy, I hold to a single conviction. Minimalism, when approached with warmth and mindfulness, is not about subtraction. It is about making room for air, for light, for growth, for human connection. In this space, nothing is superfluous, and because of that, everything is essential. This is the promise of the modern minimalist garden and patio retreat, not emptiness, but fullness discovered through simplicity. When I envision the final dimension of this design philosophy, I turn toward the human experience in its most intimate form. A garden and patio are never complete until they are lived in. Architecture is not static, it is animated by the lives it hosts. And so the minimalist garden in 2025 becomes less about what is built and more about how it shapes daily rituals. It is about the way sunlight filters into morning tea, the way a chair feels beneath you at dusk, the way conversation drifts across a softly lit patio as night descends. These subtle, ordinary moments are elevated by design into experiences of profound presence. The spatial arrangement is crafted not to overwhelm, but to guide these rituals naturally. A reading nook in the corner of the patio, shaded yet open to breezes, becomes a sanctuary for solitude. A low table surrounded by simple seating invites gathering without hierarchy. No grand throne-like chair, just a circle of equals. Every space holds intention, yet no space feels forced. This is the art of restraint, creating opportunities for life to unfold without dictating its form. The philosophy of less but better finds its truest voice in the textures that support these daily lives. Outdoor cushions are chosen not only for comfort, but for their muted harmony with stone and wood. Linen throws are not bright distractions, but quiet companions, blending into the palette while offering tactile softness. Even the ceramics that hold candles or herbs are understated, their handcrafted imperfections resonating with the authenticity of nature itself. These objects do not dominate, they recede, allowing human presence and natural beauty to rise. In this vision, the connection between humans and nature is the guiding principle. Biophilic design is not a slogan, but an embedded reality. The air flows freely through spaces. Plants are not background decoration, they are companions. A single olive tree standing quietly on a patio can become an anchor for memory, a place where children play at its base, where conversations linger, where the seasons mark themselves in the changing leaves. Design here does not dictate experience. It frames it, leaving space for memory and meaning to accumulate. I often return to the role of light because in architecture, light is everything. Morning light filters through slats, dappling the ground like a painter's brush. Afternoon sun glances across smooth stone, radiating warmth. Evening light, crafted by human hand, takes its cue from the sun's fading glow. Never harsh, always golden, always tender. Light defines atmosphere, and atmosphere defines memory. If the garden is a canvas, light is the ink with which its story is written. Water, too, is a subtle presence in these sanctuaries, not as grand fountains, but as quiet gestures. A shallow basin collecting rain, a thin stream feeding a reflective pool. Water mirrors sky and movement, expanding the sense of openness while offering a gentle sound that soothes the mind. Its cyclical presence reminds us of sustainability and continuity. In my designs, water is not spectacle, but rhythm, a living pulse that animates stillness. As I look deeper into the cultural significance of these spaces, I see them as responses to an age of excess. For decades, outdoor design often leaned on opulence, grand statements, overflowing abundance, decorative clutter. But now, people crave clarity. The modern minimalist garden in 2025 represents a collective desire to strip away the unnecessary, to recover balance. It is both a rebellion against noise and a return to essence. This is why the materials are raw, the palettes are muted, the forms are simple. It is not emptiness for emptiness's sake, but a deliberate act of making space for what truly matters. Sustainability, woven throughout, is not simply about environmental responsibility, it is also about emotional endurance. A space designed with care for its ecological footprint also nurtures the psyche. Knowing that the timber beneath your feet is reclaimed, that the plants before you are native, that the water beside you is harvested from rain, this awareness deepens the sense of belonging. You are not consuming nature, you are collaborating with it. This reciprocity is essential to the spiritual power of minimalist outdoor design. There is also an architectural honesty to these spaces. Materials are not disguised. Wood looks like wood, stone feels like stone, metal shows its weathering. In their rawness, they display integrity. And it is this integrity that resonates with people weary of surfaces that pretend to be what they are not. Authentic materials remind us that imperfection is not flaw but character, that time enriches rather than diminishes. The modern minimalist garden celebrates this truth by allowing every element to age gracefully, to grow into its place rather than resist it. Ultimately, the true achievement of these designs is not in visual beauty, but in emotional resonance. When someone enters such a garden, they feel lighter, their breath slows, their senses sharpen, their mind softens. This is not by accident, but by design. Each empty space is intentional, each element carefully positioned, each material chosen with awareness. The result is a space that acts as a mirror, reflecting back to its inhabitants a sense of clarity and calm they may not have realized they were seeking. In practice, I see these gardens becoming sanctuaries of reconnection, not only with nature, but with each other. Families gather without distraction, friends linger longer in conversation, individuals rediscover solitude without loneliness. In the quiet embrace of a minimalist patio, relationships deepen because nothing competes for attention. The architecture creates the stage, but life provides the performance. And so I return to the essence of this philosophy. Beauty lies not in what is added, but in what is left out. The modern minimalist garden and cozy patio retreat for summer 2025 are not monuments to design, but invitations to live more intentionally. They remind us that space, when shaped with care, becomes more than backdrop. It becomes experience, memory, meaning. In a world of constant noise, these sanctuaries whisper, and in their whisper they restore.